Breaking tonight. A Turkish Air Force C-130 cargo plane crashed in Georgia, near the Azerbaijan-Georgia border, after departing Ganja and heading back to Turkey. Turkey's defense ministry said search and rescue began with Georgian coordination. President Erdogan offered condolences, referring to the fallen as martyrs. Footage from the area shows the aircraft spiraling with a trail of smoke before impact. An investigation is underway. Officials have not yet released a cause. Early reports said around 20 personnel were on board. Later updates from multiple outlets indicated no survivors, though authorities are still working to verify identities and notify families. The crash comes a day after high-level contacts between Ankara, Baku, and Tbilisi, underscoring close regional ties. For now, the focus is on the recovery effort and the technical probe, including whether there was any in-flight failure prior to the loss of contact. Washington inches toward reopening after a bruising shutdown. Gaza talks enter a delicate phase as negotiators weigh what comes next. Heavy combat flares around Pokrovsk in eastern Ukraine. Markets cool after Monday's tech bounce. China's October inflation offers a small upside surprise. And COP30 in Belém puts transparency back in the spotlight. I'm your host, let's get you up to speed. Day 41 of the partial U.S. government shutdown, and the Senate has passed a compromise bill to restart federal operations. The package funds key agencies and extends several programs, with operations expected to run through January 30th if the House follows suit. Markets welcome the move, but uncertainties remain over healthcare subsidies and the next budget fight. For millions of Americans, the immediate impact is practical: back pay for furloughed workers, a restart of delayed permits and grants, and fewer travel disruptions. Politically, the vote shows rare bipartisan alignment under pressure from governors, business groups, and public opinion. The spotlight now shifts to the House, where leadership has signaled a quick vote. If approved, agencies will begin recalling staff and clearing backlogs within days, but debates over long-term spending, immigration riders, and deficit targets will return before this stopgap expires. Diplomacy is pivoting to phase 2 of the Gaza ceasefire. U.S. envoy Jared Kushner met Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Jerusalem to discuss security arrangements, governance options, and how to lock in humanitarian gains while preventing a relapse into war. Proposals on the table include an internationally supported stabilization mission focused on corridors, demining, and infrastructure repairs, plus a transitional civil administration under strict financial oversight. The sticking points: the status of Hamas fighters underground, sequencing of prisoner exchanges, and guarantees tied to hostages' release. Israel stresses verifiable security control and tunnel neutralization. Arab partners warn any plan must quickly improve daily life or risk collapse. In the coming days, negotiators will test whether a fragile truce can harden into a framework that holds. In eastern Ukraine, fighting around Pokrovsk intensified under heavy fog. Ukraine's military reported over 100 engagements as Russian units probed multiple axes and small assault groups pushed toward the city's edges. First-person view drones harass supply routes while counter-battery radars hunt artillery on both sides. Kyiv says fresh fortifications and rotations are stabilizing key sectors. Moscow touts incremental gains. Independent analysts warn that winter will harden ground but complicate maneuver, making drones, electronic warfare, and long-range fires even more decisive. Civilians face rolling power and water disruptions as strikes hit lines and pumping stations, another reminder that logistics, not just frontline maps, drives momentum. Global stocks edged up after Monday's surge as investors priced a prospective U.S. reopening. The dollar dipped on labor market jitters, while yields eased. Beneath the surface, leadership remains narrow. Mega caps carry most of the gains, with cyclicals and small caps lagging. Traders are watching whether the House signs off on the funding deal and scanning earnings guidance for capex, high spend, and inventory normalization. Currency desks note that lower dollar volatility has boosted carry trade appeal, but a policy shock or a hiccup in Washington could flip the trade quickly. China's October CPI rose 0.2% year-on-year, with core CPI up 1.2%, marking a sixth straight month of gradual acceleration. On paper, that suggests steadier domestic demand into year-end. Under the hood, price gains remain uneven, services firmer, goods softer, and the property overhang still weighs on sentiment. Policy tools, mortgage easing, local government financing tweaks, and targeted consumption support have cushioned weak spots. The debate now: can momentum carry into Q1 without broader stimulus? Even a modest upturn in Chinese demand can ripple through commodities, freight, and Asian supply chains. At COP30 in Belém, negotiators are zeroing in on the Paris Agreement's transparency framework: how countries report emissions, track progress, and verify results. Today's schedule includes the high-level opening of Together for Transparency, marking a decade since Paris and showcasing MRF tools that make national pledges more comparable. For developing nations, clearer reporting can unlock finance, but capacity building is essential so transparency doesn't become a burden. The outcome won't be a single headline promise. Rather, a toolkit that determines whether future pledges are measurable and trusted. In India's capital, Delhi, authorities ordered hybrid classes for students up to grade 5 as air quality slid into the severe category. The move follows activation of GRAP Stage 3 measures by the Air Quality Commission and aims to reduce young children's exposure while keeping instruction going. Higher grades largely continue in person because of exams, but schools have been told to adjust schedules, limit outdoor activity, and step up health advisories. Doctors warn of a spike in respiratory issues. Parents are urged to monitor symptoms and use masks and purifiers where possible. Officials say restrictions will be reviewed as conditions evolve. That's your World Brief for Tuesday, November 11th. If this helped you make sense of a fast news day, tap like and subscribe. New rundowns every evening. See you tomorrow.